So every Monday morning on OTB AM, we're going to be bringing you our Gillette Pressure Rankings. What are we looking at this week, Owen?
Yeah, we're going to do a special Premier League managerial pressure. We call it. I was going to call it a managerial merry-go-round pressure rankings. We can call it the pressure go-round if you want. You can call it whatever you want. We're going to do a top 5 to 1. Here are the 5 Premier League managers under most pressure, I feel, going into the new season. At number 5, and you might disagree with this, is Dean Smith. Like, call me affected by what Roy Keane said last night, but I think there's a little element of truth to what Roy Keane is saying, insofar as this is possibly the last note of positivity before things start to get real. Because what will happen immediately when you pick up tomorrow's newspaper, and I'm sure it's in this morning's newspaper, is that Jack Grealish is going to be linked with everybody. And Jack Grealish being linked with everybody is not idle paper talk. It is something that is more than likely going to happen this summer. So you lose your best player.
Do they though? I think that Jack Grealish's behaviour over lockdown is going to give chairman pause to spend 100 million quid on somebody who ends up, you know, one slipper, one flip-flop, pictured. There's like a track record that Jack Grealish has there. So I think there's a chance that Jack Grealish stays for one more season and that they do a deal and they sign a new contract and there's like an agreed buyout clause. But I think you're right. I actually do. I think that Dean Smith is under a little bit of pressure. And to be honest, I wouldn't be terribly surprised if at some point over the summer some celebrity manager is parachuted in there. If you're a billionaire and you've invested loads and loads of money and you're like, we just scraped out, what happened there? We just avoided relegation on the last day. I thought I invested loads of money to make sure this didn't happen. I think you're right. There's something here.
Yeah, definitely. I was kind of more thinking next season pressure. You're actually pushing him higher up the rankings than I have him. I just think that you're getting a stronger Premier League next season. Leeds and West Brom coming in instead of Norwich and Bournemouth is far stronger. Whoever wins the playoff could be better than Watford as well. But it doesn't matter. If you take Leeds and West Brom and parachute them into the Premier League, I think Villa get relegated even with Jack Grealish. So they need to spend well. And immediately, I think that Dean Smith will be on the hot seat next season.
Would you be completely shocked if on Wednesday morning Dean Smith ended up being sacked and Rafa Benitez or somebody else of that ilk was suddenly parachuted in? This is the Premier League. Weird stuff happens. I'm not saying I want that to happen. I love the romance of having a manager who supports the club, but ultimately, this is $1 billion enterprise that they're trying to create. They see the value, and having a team that is yo-yoing up and down, not great for business. So would you be terribly surprised if that happens?
I would be surprised. I think that it's different. I think that if this is the club that's been in the Premier League for a number of years and that they've managed to fight by the skin of their teeth, I think the owners have alarm bells ringing. This is a club that just came up from the Championship. This is about their level. This is the level for any team who's come up from the Championship, avoid relegation. Now, they may look elsewhere in the Premier League and say, I was just about to make that point. Look at what Chris Wilder is doing with Sheffield United. So the form isn't necessarily to just be in a relegation scrap. Villa would have absolutely fancied their chances against Sheffield United in the Championship last season. So why have Sheffield United managed to make that step forward?
Oh, and look, we'll see if they manage to maintain that. Just a reminder, though, that every week here in the Gillette Pressure Rankings on OTB AM, we're going to be giving you the chance to win a Gillette Skin Guard starter pack. Just get in touch with us over the weekend and tell us who you think should be on our pressure rankings. We haven't done the new Watford manager, but that's been one of the suggestions from MMM on Twitter. Carlo Ancelotti is on the way out of Everton, lads. 12th this season, such a disappointing year. He's the Italian Big Sam. I keep telling you, Bernard on YouTube says Carlo Ancelotti must be under pressure. Same will not be good enough for Everton. I think Carlo Ancelotti has a window of opportunity this off-season and into next season, because I think that he just needs to... I don't think he's under pressure just yet. I could be wrong about that. Who's on our list?
Just on Ancelotti, I think if you look at a club that gets kind of carried away by the fact that you could get a shiny new manager, well, Everton won't be one of those clubs because they have a shiny old manager in there. They won't be sacking Carlo Ancelotti. He's not making our pressure rankings. At number 4, and I think we might disagree over this one, is Frank Lampard. You don't think he's under any pressure from what I can gather from a conversation that we've had in the past? You think he is a club legend? I put it to you this way. Frank Lampard has already spent a ton of money going into next season. They absolutely need to turn that money into a Premier League title challenge. Otherwise, Frank Lampard is in trouble. The next step up from qualifying for the Champions League, and the same goes for Manchester United, who we'll get to in a moment, but the next step up is to mount a title challenge. They were the last Premier League winners, not called Manchester City or Liverpool. Roman Abramovich will think this is a return to form. Those in the hierarchy of Chelsea Football Club will think it is a return to their normal stance for them to be challenging for the Premier League. They spent that money on Timo Werner. He was there yesterday. They're going to spend big money on Kai Havertz. The Declan Rice thing, Ger, that could be to Chelsea. That points towards a Premier League title challenge that the board will expect, and I'm not sure Frank Lampard will deliver it.
I understand all those energy drinks have rotted your brain and all that time spent sitting in your underwear playing computer games, and so your attention span is dead. I understand that that's where you are right now, and we can probably do some counselling afterwards to get you out of that scenario. Anybody who has paid any attention to what has happened with Chelsea over the last while realises that Roman Abramovich has some favoured sons. One of them is John Terry. Another of them was Jose Mourinho, to the point where he brought him back. While after he'd sacked Mourinho the first time, he bought him a Ferrari to make up for it. This is the person who now finally has the son he never had as the manager of the football club that he had lost. He didn't care about. If you look at the way that Chelsea became this brilliant business over the last while, where they discovered all of these amazingly talented young players, many of whom never actually made it at the club. They went off. You think of De Bruyne, you think of Salah, you think of Nathan Ake, for God's sake. This is a club who actually fully understands exactly what their business model had been for the last couple of years. Now, all of a sudden, they're spending money again on players. Why is that? I'll tell you why that is. Because the owner has decided, look at my super yacht. This is my Chelsea super yacht. You know he's got the biggest super yachts in the world, right? I think he might even have 2 of them. So this is a man for whom there is no joy in life beyond actually seeing your family achieve something. And Frank Lampard is his boy. He's not Frank Lampard Jr. He's Roman Abramovich Jr. This is the moment that Abramovich has been waiting for, where this whole thing comes full circle, and it's going to be created by one of his own. You're saying he's under pressure. Frank Lampard could lay a big turd on the board table, and everybody like, what was that? And I'd be like, the dog did it. They're going to cover for him.
It's not true. A lot of what you're saying here is just not true.
It's all true.
None of the signings that Roman Abramovich has made for his loved son have even come in their top 5 signings. Like Timo Werner, big splash, but he's their 6th most expensive signing. These managers that he apparently didn't love like his son got prized assets such as Kepa, their record signing, Alvaro Morata, Jorginho, Christian Pulisic, Fernando Torres is still in their top 5 record signings.
Fernando Torres, he was still interested in football at that stage.
These are all gifts given to people not called Frank Lampard. The only reason he bought Jose Mourinho a Lamborghini was to say sorry for appointing Avram Grant, the most boring man in the world. He wanted to give himself an injection of excitement by buying somebody a Lamborghini. That is the only reason why he bought Jose Mourinho a Lamborghini. But also the Mourinho thing is exactly the point here, that he loved Jose. He brought Chelsea the greatest era of success they had ever seen at that point, and he still sacked him. But he, I guess, still also had the cojones to actually go back and reappoint Jose Mourinho and mend that bridge. So what is stopping him from sacking Frank Lampard if things get bad next season?
He loves him.
He would like to mend that bridge as well. He knows that money can buy anything, and money can buy friendship, even if you're enemies for a little while. Frank Lampard, if they do not mount a title challenge next season, I think is under pressure from the board.
So this is right now. This is our pressure rankings. He is the 4th most pressurised manager in the Premier League at the moment.
Yes.
I cannot see that. I think that he's going to be sitting back going, I've got a brilliant young squad. I've got young players coming through. I'm learning the ropes myself, and I've got the support of like the vast majority of the English media press corps, and the clippings are coming through every day, and they're like, "Oh, Lampard doing a great job. Lampard's football is good. Lampard really learning. Lampard future England boss." And Roman Abramovich is like, "That's my boy. Come on, let's have a little party on the yacht."
I disagree. Like, I mean, come have a party on the yacht, fine, but you don't need to be a Chelsea manager to do that. Like, I mean, if you've got sacked by somebody and that person who sacks you rings you up and says, "Do you want to come party on my yacht?" I'm probably saying, forgive you for sacking me. I'll come party on your yacht, no problem. Where is the yacht at? Monaco? No bother. Will you pay for my flights there, Roman? Yes, he will. So I think that people can be bought off pretty easily if it comes to having any angst. The question is, like, I mean, your theory will be supported if they go out and Havertz is their record signing and they go out and spend like a 100 million bill on another individual. I guess the thing that really supports you is that they haven't had a full transfer market to show just how much Roman Abramovich really loves Frank Lampard, because of course they couldn't sign last summer. But the evidence from previous managers is that they had a lot of money thrown at them as well. And that, for me, isn't exactly a sign that Roman Abramovich
They were a
knows
club who had to break even. The whole business model changed to the point where they were deciding that they weren't going to be a club that was investing heavily. And I think that there's going to be a massive imbalance over the next couple of years where they actually spend as much as they're legally under financial fair play allowed to do, and they push that envelope as far as they possibly can. Watch as they kind of start to harvest the players they have on loan and sell those, or do deals to make sure that they're able to spend as much in some key areas as they had. And you can see from the level of investment, it's ramped up massively all of a sudden, because I think they believe in this project and they believe in the manager. And I think that he's going to end up being the longest tenured Abramovich appointment. That's a hostage to fortune right there, but I'm pretty sure that Frank Lampard, when all is said and done, is going to turn out to be the manager who lasts the longest at Chelsea in the Abramovich era.
Still doesn't mean that he's not under pressure. Like, I mean, of course, if he goes and wins the Premier League title next season, then that will feel like Abramovich's greatest moment, Chelsea's greatest moment, because they've done it with somebody who came through, who came through at a relatively young age. Obviously, came from West Ham, but they definitely feel like a claim to Frank Lampard at Chelsea, and it will beat everything else.
Frank Abramovich Jr.
The key point is actually getting over the line and winning the Premier League, and I'm not sure they're actually going to do that. I think they're actually investing money in the wrong place. You watched them against Liverpool last week. Defensively, they're desperate.
I don't think they need to win the league next season. I don't think that's true at all. I think
they need to challenge, I think it's a hair's breadth between first and second next season again.
Play good football. Make me enjoy my trips to my TV where I watch this, because I'm still not really in England that much. Which is, let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. I'm saying no.
At number 3, we've got Jose Mourinho. Jose Mourinho, is he ever a man who's not under pressure? Well, I think you put yourself under added pressure when you are celebrating and being jubilant and hugging and cheering when you finished 6th in the Premier League. Like, I mean, it's one thing if Roy Keane is going to have a go at Aston Villa for celebrating staying in the Premier League. That is, you know, a big achievement. Tottenham seemed pretty happy with themselves as well for finishing 6th and qualifying for the Europa League, which obviously is going to be their European conquest next season. Jose Mourinho is under massive pressure for a number of reasons here. First of all, the chairman has form on making big decisions based on a small-ish sample size. Mauricio Pochettino sacking this year shocked a lot of people. People felt that he deserved a hell of a lot longer than he got. Will Jose Mourinho get a bit of extra time because he's Jose Mourinho? Maybe. I don't necessarily think so, because of the reason that they have the remnants of a golden generation of players that they don't want to let go. Now, personally, I think that golden generation is contracting with every passing day, and Harry Kane really becomes your sole prized asset. His contract runs for another few years, but with every passing year, there is a depreciating value here, and decreasing value here. And I think that once you get to this time next year, and Tottenham Hotspur are not in the Champions League, the Kane out bandwagon gathers a lot of momentum. Can you stand by that manager who will be responsible for that table position, which will allow Kane to actually eke his way out of the club? You cannot stand by that. And for that reason, I think if there are early signs that they will not gather top 4 momentum, then Jose Mourinho is a dead man walking.
Because of Harry Kane, essentially.
Harry Kane, I think that they have modelled their entire team around him, but if any one squad in the Premier League is dependent on one player's existence at the club, I think Harry Kane probably has higher importance as an individual than anybody else in the Premier League. It's just the fatness of that contract. But the Aubameyang contract is quite short. They need to sign him up. Then that could be the new one. But it's the length of his contract that is so important to Tottenham at this moment. It was an incredible piece of business to get him to commit to the club for so long, and everything did look rosy in the garden at that point. But Harry Kane didn't know Jose Mourinho was going to be coming into the club at this point. Like, after the Sheffield United defeat a few weeks back, Spurs looked in a very, very bad position. Kane was playing well, but he possibly could have been played in a better system by Jose. He has turned this around in recent weeks. Let's not forget that. They have been very good in recent weeks. But Jose Mourinho can often have a little upturn in fortune before things turn sour again. And we know that things always end up sour with Jose Mourinho. So if that comes next season, or there's evidence of that starting next season, especially, I think he's under pressure to actually get sacked.
Okay, I think I can probably go along with the Mourinho pressure. But you and your buddy Anson Boom were chatting about this, and he's a Spurs fan. He's like, no, I want to see what he's going to do when he's been given a bit of an opportunity and a bit of time, like. And we've had Martin Lipton on, and he's like, oh, he hasn't been given an opportunity yet, so he has to be given the possibility of restructuring this squad in whatever image he wants to do. Now, it seems like his image is a little bit, and his style of football is a little bit out of date, so let's wait and see. But I can't see them sacking him, because aren't they still paying off Pochettino? And they're quite parsimonious when it comes to like this type of stuff, so...
I think, yeah, paying off two managers at once would be probably...
Not very Spursy.
Not very Spursy, to say the least. At number 2, we've got Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I don't think he's under immediate pressure, but this kind of comes back to... So I think what I mean here is that I think he will be under pressure immediately once the first ball is kicked next season. Same situation as Frank Lampard here. You've qualified for the Champions League. Manchester United has gone one step further and actually got that number 3 spot, which a lot of Manchester United fans will now be pushing as their agenda this season. You know, the best team not called Manchester City or Liverpool in the Premier League, it's Manchester United. So what is the next step for a team that finished 3rd in the Premier League? It's even more obvious in the Chelsea situation. They have to try and crack the big 2. Can that Manchester United squad crack the big 2 next season? I don't believe so. I think that the signs have been extremely good at times this season, but I don't think there is anywhere near the level of consistency, especially at the back, that Liverpool and Manchester City have brought to the past 2 or 3 seasons that Manchester United can bring immediately.
Well, can I just, so think back to how long did it actually take Jurgen Klopp to get Liverpool to the point where they were all going in the same direction? I don't know if you remember, there was a slew of injuries almost immediately he arrived because he was training them too hard, and there was everybody whining, and then there was like problems that, like, it took him a long time to get that churn of players.
Yeah.
Particularly that group of players he wanted out, and to get the ones who were there, to give them the freedom to be the ones who were in charge. And we're seeing that happen at Old Trafford at the moment. And so I would say that if you're the owners for the first time in a long time, you're looking at this going, and this was the point I was making earlier on with Daniel Harris, that actually here is somebody who's making long-term decisions as opposed to short-term, I need to win this game because my job depends on it, which was what Van Gaal was at fairly early on, and Mourinho clearly was not staying there for the long haul. So didn't care if a load of money was given to Sanchez, didn't care if a load of money was given to De Gea, because it was like, well, I'm here for 3 seasons max, and well, let's wait and see, you know, how far can I get? Do I want this little bauble? Yes, I do. Do I want to keep that player happy? Yes, I do. With Solskjaer, that's not the case. I think he's legitimately saying, I am not going to just bow to whatever agent pressures there are. I'm going to make sure that this relationship that we have is the right one for us. I think he's handled the Pogba situation relatively well, particularly for somebody who's inexperienced, to the point where Pogba is now essentially playing week in, week out, has stopped leaking, or his camp have stopped leaking to the press that he's available or wants to move or is at least considering it. I actually think that he is as secure a manager in the Premier League as there is, beyond obviously the ones who have just won the title, and in Guardiola, the one who the whole club was built around to try and seduce him to come there.
It's Manchester United. You're always going to be in and around the top when it comes to these pressure rankings. I just think that there is an added sense of responsibility on what they do next. Following Jose Mourinho could be a disaster in one way because he tends to leave a trail of destruction whenever things go wrong. But it's also a great thing in another way, where the turbulence of one manager really needs to be replaced by somebody who is a steady hand. And Solskjaer immediately showed that. Now, things took a dip and they're starting to take an upturn at the moment. You're absolutely right when it comes to the Jurgen Klopp situation. He comes in 2015, 2017-18. It's really the end of that season before things start to get really good. Now, is Jurgen Klopp given a bit of added time because what he had done in the Bundesliga? It's probably a bit of that, but also in terms of the recruitment, as you mentioned, and the signs that there could be greater output from the players that he had with a little bit of extra time.
Who's number 1?
And then perhaps that is the sense with Manchester United. At number 1, though, we've got Pep Guardiola and Manchester City. Like we mentioned this last week, there is no club under greater pressure at the moment to actually just go and deliver. Just go and deliver. It comes immediately. It comes against Real Madrid in a few weeks' time. They lose that, there will be a lot of people circulating videos of Pep Guardiola celebrating Manchester City's actual existence in the Champions League. Next year, if they get knocked out early in the Champions League or before the final, the same thing will be circulated, and the season after that. They've put that on themselves, but they've also put the pressure on themselves for the Premier League next season. 18 points off Liverpool is how they finished. It was a terrible, terrible season by their own standards from the previous couple of years. As I said a moment ago, I expect next season to be a hair's breadth. I expect them to be back. But that is such a casual thing to say. It's what we expect of Manchester City. If Manchester City live up to this season's expectations, deliver 80-something points again this season, Pep Guardiola is under massive pressure.
Yeah.
There's no two ways about it.
I can see this. I can totally see this. If you want to get involved in this conversation, 0879 180 180 is the WhatsApp number. And every week on the Gillette Pressure Rankings on OTB AM, we're going to give you the chance to win a Gillette Skin Guard starter pack. Get in touch with us over the weekend. Tell us who you think should be on our Pressure Rankings. And the winner this week is Keith Brennan. With Manchester United making Champions League, they will now have additional budget for transfers. So fringe players like Jesse Lingard, Fred, McTominay and Mata are definitely under pressure. That's a very good point. I would suggest that most of those, with the exception of McTominay, well, actually Fred, Brian Kerr was giving Fred a big shout out yesterday when he was talking with Joe Malloy in the aftermath of the game. Good man Keith Brennan, you are this week's winner, and we'll be in touch with you to give you details of how you're going to pick up that Gillette Skin Guard starter pack, as in we'll send it to you. Don't worry, you don't have to come in and pick it up. But yeah, so that is this week's Gillette Pressure Rankings here on OTB AM.